Hello everyone. Welcome to the new class of business acumen. So in our previous class we discussed about various elements of business acumen. In that one was your understanding one's thought process. So in today's class we are going to discuss in detail about understanding one's own thought process, why it is important, what we mean by thought process. Also in the previous lecture we have discussed various elements, such as this thought process, understanding one's thought process, developing business knowledge, management practices, the management process, the management and leadership skills, and talking about strategic thinking. So we have just seen the basic introduction about all these elements, and in today's today's class, we will be going to discuss more on understanding one's thought process. So let us start by understanding how we are able to understand our own thought processes, how we are able to read our own mind, and how it can be helpful for the businesses and for our personal life as well. Right? Let us start with the definition which is given by macmillandictionary.com. We have also seen yesterday, is the way in which your mind works, or we can say is the process of thinking about something, or in general sense, if we talk about it, is the process of using your mind to consider something very carefully. And if we talk about the example of how the thought process work and how we should go for understanding one's own mindset, it's like to be deeply concentrating on how to figure out a problem. It can be related with the problem identification, or it can be on the other side with an idea on how to solve a problem. Say, for example, if we are talking about what the problem is, it's about identification of the problem, then we will be saying that at the same time it is a mindset which is working on that, and also at the same time thought processes are going on in order to identify the basic problem in which we are into. Right, we are figuring out our problem. Another thing can be whether we have identified the problem and now we are thinking about how to solve that particular problem, or what are the various alternatives that can solve that problem. So whenever our mind is working with what thought process we are working will ultimately lead to our objectives, and will ultimately lead to what our targets will be and how we are going to achieve those targets. Right. So in continuation we have also seen the various quotes, the quotes given by Swami Vivekananda, that whatever we are is just because of our thoughts. Whatever we have in our mind will deliver us to the positive side or the negative side of our outcomes. So whatever we are able to achieve and whatever we are going to achieve is because of our thought process. If we are on the positive side, we'll definitely go for the positive outcomes, and if we are thinking in a negative direction, so it will be continuously sticking to our mind that it is not possible. And kind of another quote which I quoted yesterday was, if you realize just how powerful your thoughts are, you will never think a negative thought. And Willie Nelson also quoted that when you have the negative thought, it is also important to replace those negative thoughts with the positive ones, because you will start having positive results only and only when you do not have any kind of negative thoughts in your mind. When you can't yourself believe that you are going to achieve it, how the other party will be, or the how the other individuals will be understanding you in a better way. So first of all, it's your task to define yourself, it's your task to understand, to be confident that yes, I can do that. Also, Lord Buddha talk about the being positive, in the sense that nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. If you're not controlling your own thoughts, if you're not thinking positive, your thought process is not positive, you're the only one who can go in the negative world. Ultimately, you're not thinking on the positive side, right? So this we have discussed in the previous previous class. So now the question is, what is a normal thought process? What we mean by a normal thought process, right? Thought process refers to how the building blocks of thinking are linked to one another. Whether it's a problem identification, whether it's identification of the various alternatives to any of the problem. So it's always about linking one phase of any product, any service, any problem, or any of the idea with the another one. So it's a dependent activity, it's a linkage with one another. So it's building up blocks of thinking which are linking based to the one to the another one, right? And from a process perspective, if we see, normal thinking is logical, coherent, and goal oriented. Simply you need to put it and it will make a sense, right? So this is the normal thought process. What are the various thought processes we have? So what you are going to do during the class is, we are going to discuss on these creative processes, decision making processes, awareness thinking, emotional intelligence, which are based on the emotionally based thinking, right? Problem solving or reasoning as a thought process. So we're going to have a detailed discussion on these and how the problem can be identified and how the problem can be resolved with these, right? The purpose of thought is, most importantly, if we talk about, the purpose of thinking is to understand our world as best as possible. Uh, Here our world means anything on which we are thinking. It can be any problem, it can be business related, it can be your personal one, it can be your target related, it can be with anything. So there is a world around you. When you are understanding your world as much as possible, as best as possible, so we are saying we are thinking on it, we are capturing the data about it. So it is important to let make it a problem as a word, let make this topic or domain as a world to us, and we need to understand the world as best as possible. We need to understand the topic or domain or our area as best as possible, with so many examples, with so many, and how we can understand our world as best as possible, because our minds have evolved to think so that we can better adapt to our environment, whatever the things are being changing around us, and to make smarter decisions on how to survive, how to live, and how to flourish and grow, right? And for taking this smarter decisions, let us understand what we mean by the term critical thinking. There is an important aspect when we talk about thought process, that is critical thinking. So critical thinking is a desire, as per Francis Bacon, philosopher. Critical thinking is a desire, and this desire is to seek, patience to doubt, fondness to meditate, slowness to assert, readiness to consider, careful to dispose and set in order, and hatred for every kind of imposture. So these are the words of the Francis Bacon, which clearly defines the critical thinking, that it is a lot complex activity, and one has to think in a very critical way if he or she wants to conquer that particular word, that particular domain. How we can go for the critical thinking, it's very important that how we should proceed with critical thinking in order to grab that particular opportunity or conquer that particular word, right? So what's happening around us? So gather the basic information, begin to think of the various question, and ask yourself what's happening. Ask yourself why is it important. Ask yourself why it's significant, and whether or not you agree or not, right? What don't I see? Is there anything important missing? If something is missing, I'm not getting close to the results. If something is missing, please try to find the possible solution. So it is always about the problem thinking and then the solution part. And also one need to ask, like, how do I know? You need to ask these questions to yourself. How do I know? Ask yourself where the information came from and how it was constructed, why it is important to me, who is saying it, what's the position of the speaker, and what is influencing them, why I should listen to the speaker, how and why I should trust the speaker, what is the relevant source of it, right? What else, or what if? It is also known as what if analysis. If this will not be accepted, what will happen? And similar kind of things we need to go for. What other ideas exist, and are there other possibilities? So it can also be expressed as if then analysis. If something happens, then what will happen? And if that thing does not happen, what are the other ideas that are existing and what are the other possibilities, right? So this is important to understand. And critical thinking and positive thought process are interrelated. So when you want to go for the critical thinking, after asking so many questions to yourself, you need to develop a positive thought process. And positive thought process can be developed when you have surrounded by the positive people. And there are few tips that I would like to share with everyone, that start the day with a positive affirmation. So it's always better to start your day with the positive note, on the positive side. And it can be like, today will be a good day for me, or I'm going to be the awesome today. So you need to be confident on yourself. Second one can be, focus on the good things, however small. Whether the things are small or big hardly matters, but you need to focus on the good things. Another way of being positive is that we can focus on the good things. We should always focus on the good things, however, it may be small or big. Say, for example, if you get stuck in a traffic, think like you got time to listen to your favorite music, because you cannot avoid it, right? It can be find human in bad situation, though I agree that it sometimes becomes very difficult to find human in the bad situation. But you can remind yourself that this situation will probably make for a good story later, and try to crack a joke about it. Say, for example, during this COVID situation, people are posting all these things on the Facebook, so that when Facebook will remind you after 1 year a story on your timeline, so you will be reminded about the time that is being here in the COVID situation, right? Try to turn your failures into lessons. Always learn from your mistake. So past will teach you. Always go for the failure stories. Always try to learn from your mistake. And instead of focusing on how you failed, think about what you're going to do next time. What we are going to do in the future. We're not going to repeat the same mistake, but how we can overcome that. Again, transform negative self-talk into positive self-talk. When you're talking to yourself, do not speak and do not have always the negative vibes around you. Try to be positive with yourself. So I'm so bad at this. Becomes once I got more practice, I'll be a way better at this. So if you're failing at something, so do not worry about that you're failing, but think like, I need more practice and I'll be coming out of this particular situation. And you can focus on the present. So I'm talking about the present, which means not today, not this hour, only this exact moment. So learn from the past, think for the future, but live your life in the present. Focus on the present always. And most important, always surround yourself with positive environment, positive vibes. And that can be, find positive friends, mentors and co-workers. When you surround yourself with positive people, you'll hear positive outlooks. You'll always hear positive words, you'll always hear positive stories and positive affirmations. And that's the way you can turn your thought process into the positive one. With these words, I'm expecting that we'll have a positive environment during our class interaction. Everybody will be participating in a positive way, right? And it's always necessary to be on the positive part and to accept the challenges whatever are coming in our way. And with these words, have a positive attitude. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.